Michael Jackson is in Bangkok, Thailand tonight, where he has now postponed 2 concerts, claiming that he is ill. Well, back in Los Angeles, there's a press frenzy over investigations into child abuse by Jackson.
Remains the Children's Services report detailing the charges by a 13-year-old boy.
Naturally, that means you're prepared to go to court and prove your innocence, fight to show everyone, hey, I'm innocent of this. Which makes it even more interesting why he paid this kid off. $23 million he paid this kid. And the Michael Jackson fans will explain that away of, oh, well, it was an insurance payout, really. And did he really have the final say on that? He absolutely had say on whether this kid got paid. That is a fact.
There was one night I stood in there, I asked him if I could stay in his bedroom. And he let me stay in the bedroom. And I was like, Michael, you can sleep on the bed. And he was like, no, you sleep on the bed, sleep on the bed. We're like, no, you sleep on the bed. And then he finally said, okay, if you love me, you sleep on the bed. I was like, oh, man.
To your knowledge, Mr. Jackson, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Brett Barnes?
Won't answer that.
While the search for Michael Jackson goes on in Europe, his world is coming apart back home in Los Angeles. Mike Watchers has the latest from London. Mike?
Maureen, still no Michael Jackson sightings here in London today. But let me tell you, most of his fans here seem to be standing by their man. A far cry from what's going on back in the States.
But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's not a worrying thing?
Why should it be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room?
There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part. These statements about me are totally false. As I have maintained from the very beginning, I am hoping for a speedy end to this horrifying experience to which I have been subjected. I shall not in this statement respond to all of the false allegations being made against me, since my lawyers have advised me that this is not the proper forum in which to do that. I will say that I am particularly upset by the handling of this mass matter by the incredible, terrible mass media. At every opportunity, the media has dissected and manipulated these allegations to reach their own conclusions. I ask all of you to wait and hear the truth before you label or condemn me. Don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent.
Michael Jackson is one of the most famous people to ever walk this earth, easily the top 3, top 5 people of all time. A child singer who started at the age of 5 with his brothers in the group called Jackson 5. He was breaking records before he even hit the term teenager, before 13 years old. Then later going on a solo career, releasing Off the Wall, selling 30 million copies all over the world. Then going to sell on Thriller, 100 million copies, Bad, Dangerous, History, Invincible. 45 years worth of entertainment. Till the day he died, he was either performing or was preparing to perform and entertain other people. And in order to become the biggest entertainer ever walked on this earth, he lost his childhood, controversies, failed love life, and most of all, serious allegations against him. One of the most heinous crimes that you can commit on this earth. And before I even get into the whole timeline in the 1993 allegations of Evan Chandler against Michael Jackson, I first gotta lay out the foundation of who Michael Jackson really is. You gotta remember, from the age of 5, he's getting beat by Joe Jackson. It's so severe that one time Jackson fainted just because he saw Joe Jackson coming to the driveway. There are times where he's recording in Motown studio and he goes out and looks out the window into a softball pitch or a baseball pitch where children are playing, and he's crying to himself that why he couldn't be a normal child just like every other kid at age 9 or 10. When he got some money around 11, 12, 13, he used to go to a sweet shop and buy a lot of candies and then go out on the streets and put up a stall or something just so some other kids would come in and get candy for him for free, and in exchange he could just talk to them. So he was bribing people to exchange friendship with him. This is the kind of sadness and loneliness we're talking about a guy about a kid at the time who was trying to bribe other kids into talking to him and have friendship with him because he's so lonely. Clearly, this guy wasn't fully there in a way, you know?
What I do, well, most of my songs are fast.
What do you put into it?
Well, whenever I sing, that's what I really mean. Like I'm singing a song. I don't sing it if I don't mean it.
That's why he surrounded himself with children, because he wanted to live a normal life as a child. But that was the background I wanted to tell you. So, our Jordie Chandler case. Here we go. So, it starts in May 1992. 6-7 months. Michael is in Los Angeles and his car breaks down on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I got this on the map right here. His car somewhere breaks down over here, and since he's Michael Jackson and don't know how the real world works, so he calls 911 saying that he's Michael Jackson and his car broke down, can you help him? The 911 dispatcher tells them that we can't do anything, sir, like please go seek a real help. So a lady who sees Michael Jackson, the lady rings up her husband who works at a rental wreck company and one of the franchises nearby. So the Jackson's bodyguard go there and say like, hey, we work for Michael Jackson, his car is broke down, can you rent us a car? Since it's Michael Jackson, like of course it will help him. And that rental wreck was owned by the man called Dave Schwartz, this guy right here. So the owner, Dave Schwartz, gets the news that Michael Jackson is in his store and he's trying to get a car, and he calls his wife June Schwartz, or aka June Chandler, and Dave tells June to bring Jordie to the shop because Jordie is a big Michael Jackson fan. Jordie, aka Jordie Chandler, whose biological parents are June Chandler and Evan Chandler. So June brings Jordie over there and tells that Jordie is a big fan of Michael Jackson. Michael tells them thank you for helping me. They exchange numbers. Michael exchanged numbers with I think June at the time, saying like and telling Jordie that hey, you can come to Neverland at any time. One of the employees at the time recalls that June was kind of forcing Jordie onto MJ to get that connection, and it worked, you know, and voila, the connection was established between Jordie Chandler and Michael Jackson. So they continue to talk on the phone. Michael was talking with June, Michael's talking with Jordie, Jordie's talking with Michael, and you know they kind of chit chat, and Michael keeps up with the Chandler family, or Schwartz family at the time, because June is married to Dave Schwartz, as he did with other families. So this wasn't out of the unusual for Michael Jackson to ring up other families and talk to them, talk to the children, and you know, catch up on them. Jordie finally visits Neverland in 1993, February of 1993. Now you gotta remember, Jordie always came with a package, meaning with his mom and his little sister. I think Lily is the name of his little sister. Dave Schwartz isn't the real biological father of Jordie Chandler. Jordie's real father's name is Evan Chandler. His real name was Evan Charmatz. He was born in New York City and he always wanted to be a screenwriter. So he moved to California and changed his name to Evan Chandler because he thought it was too Jewish, you know, which is kind of stupid because I think that would be like a home field advantage. That's just me. He became a dentist and wasn't even a good dentist in the first place. The local dentist department, who like checks up on all the dentists and their performance, reported Evan as like a poor dentist and was very unorthodox and like wasn't that good of a dentist in the first place. Evan had a brief history in screenwriting because he co-wrote in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Let me see. There you go. Mel Brooks, Evan Chandler, and David Shapiro. And during early 1993, like June is telling Evan to come see his son because it's his son and he's the father and he should pay more attention to him. And Evan didn't want anything with Jordie. He had a $70,000 child support that he was due to pay to June because he wasn't paying. He was a deadbeat dad. she was trying to make Evan see Jordie, and he wasn't having it until Evan learns that Jordie Chandler, his son, is hanging out with the biggest pop star on the planet, Michael Jackson. And all of a sudden, oh, Jordie, it's your dad, you know, where have you been? Oh, yeah, that's the kind of person he is. An opportunist. So Evan meets Michael Jackson in May of 1993, and in the beginning, surprisingly, it was quite well. Well, not surprisingly, because Michael was, you know, being friendly with Evan. He was telling Michael, hey, Michael, you know, since me and you are good friends, why don't you get me a movie deal? Like, I want to be a screenwriter and stuff like that. And Michael was like, yeah, okay, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And in the book, All That Glitters, The Crime and the Cover-Up by Raymond Chandler. By the way, Raymond Chandler, he's the brother of June Chandler, and his surname is not even Chandler. He changed his name to Chandler so he can associate with Evan Chandler, which is associated to Michael Jackson, so he can gain some fame for this book to be released, you know. In this book, Evan point blank asks Michael that, are you fucking my son? And Michael kind of shies and like laughs at it and says like, no, obviously not. And then in the next sentence, he's saying like, oh, why don't you build a wing to my house so you can stay more with Jordie and me? Like, what parent, you ask a man that if he's messing with your son, he says no, and the next sentence you're saying like, why don't you like build a wing to my house so you can stay more with us? Like, what is this? First he asked him like, hey, why don't you buy me a new house, which you, me, and Jordie can all live together and we can all spend time together. And when Michael says no, he said like, oh, why don't you build me a wing then? So crazy. And nobody knows this. That's the sad thing. Like, everybody sees the headline and assumes Michael Jackson guilty, but nobody knows these details. June tells Evan that she and the kids are going on the Dangerous Tour, the second leg of Dangerous Tour, and this enrages Evan for some reason, because he was not gonna have access to Michael Jackson while his ex-wife is having all this relationship with Michael Jackson. He was jealous, and like, since he couldn't get the screenwriting deal which he asked and Michael first declined in May, he made up his mind to make the allegations and was making crazy, and he was like making crazy threats and claims that, oh, I'm gonna make allegations against Michael Jackson, and June, I'm gonna blame it on you that all these horrendous acts happened under your supervision. And Evan was so crazy, man, that Dave, the stepfather, made a decision that he's gonna secretly record the phone conversation between him and Chandler the next time he calls. And on July 8th, we get this recording. What is this quality? But here it is.
Against the 35-year-old singer, Sandra Hughes has details on that.
CBS News has obtained a taped phone conversation. The voices are purportedly the father of the 13-year-old boy who is accusing Michael Jackson of molesting him, and the boy's stepfather. The conversation was taped in July before the police began their investigation.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. And not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen to him. It's beyond his worst nightmares. So one more record. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want. They will be destroyed forever.
Yeah, the man who totally believes that his son was molested by Michael Jackson. See, the biggest misconception about the 1993 case is that Jordie Chandler came in and said like, Michael Jackson molested me. But in reality, it was Evan Chandler who was blackmailing Michael Jackson, saying like, oh, if you don't give me this screenwriting deal, I'm gonna make this allegation that you're molesting my son. Jordie was rejecting these allegations in the first place, like saying his dad just wants his money and this is all bogus and my dad is just like an evil man. In that same tape recording, he was telling Dave that he picked the nastiest son of a bitch that he could find and he's gonna get this deal. Other people are involved. Dave, in one time in the call, point blank asked him that, do you think that Michael is fucking Jordie? And Chandler's like, I don't know. Like, what kind of a father he is, other than like a serial blackmailer and an opportunist who will accuse another man just so he can get a screenwriting deal. And he would use his own biological son to get that. So the nastiest son of a bitch that he was talking about is Barry Rothman, who he is gonna use to make the allegation and blackmail Michael Jackson into giving him $20 million. Just a quick reminder, from May 1992 till July 8, 1993, Jordie never made any allegations against Michael Jackson. In fact, he was defending Michael Jackson, saying that it's my dad, that he's gone crazy and he just wants money from Michael.
This attorney I found, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find. Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want.
What a nice man, right?
My name is Geraldine Hughes. I was the legal secretary in 1993 for Barry Rothman, who was the attorney of Evan Chandler, the first accuser that came against Michael on child molestation. I was working for him. He hired me, and I came in for an interview one day, and he hired me for the job as his legal secretary. I was the only legal secretary for him. He was really an entertainment attorney, and he had a history of being a good negotiator in the entertainment field, though. Whenever Evan would call Barry Rothman's office, Barry Rothman would tell us to put the call on hold, and he'd walk all the way back to his office, shut the door, and that's how he took all of Evan's calls. He was the only client he did that for. Anybody else call, if he was away from his office, he'd just pick up the phone and say, okay, woo, say what he had to say, and then he'd hang up. But he didn't do that with Evan. Evan was always behind closed doors.
And there you go, coming from the legal secretary of Barry Rothman at the time. Jordie is saying Michael never touched him. Anthony Apellicano, Michael's private investigator, takes Jordie to an interview for an hour and point blank asks him explicit questions about Michael Jackson and him, like, have you seen Michael Jackson naked? Has he seen your penis? Have you been naked around Michael Jackson? Has he touched your penis? Has he masturbated you? Point blank. And Jordie keeps saying no, he has never done anything to me. Nothing sexual. It's my father who's trying to get money from Michael Jackson, and he's falsely accusing him, and he's making all these allegations. So that's the problem. Jordie is out here saying Michael never touched him, while Evan is trying to make a blackmail case against Michael Jackson, that you have molested my son and I want $20 million and I won't say anything to anybody if you pay me this thing. But Jordie is kind of like a thorn for Evan for his master plan. So on July 11th, 1993, he takes Evan for 7 days from June. It's like a court hearing. The judge allows Evan to take Jordie for 7 days, and he never returns him. He takes him to his lawyer at the time, Barry Rothman, and they're making all these schemes against Michael Jackson. How are we gonna extort money from him, while Jordie was sitting in the office of Barry Rothman. And it was basically like a coaching session. Even the legal secretary recalls that when she came into the office, she was witnessing that Barry Rothman was coaching Jordie Chandler.
So I had a few encounters with Jordie Chandler coming into the office, and to me it just looked like a coaching session. Evan
took Jordie into a dental procedure and used sodium amytal, which at the time was had this reputation of a truth serum. This drug has been related to phony UFO abduction cases. They would give this to a person telling them first that, hey, you were abducted by a UFO, and they give them this drug, and they will wake up and they will actually believe it and have false memories. And when Evan was using this drug on Jordie for dental procedure, this was highly unorthodox, because by that time everybody was using the modern techniques, and it wasn't illegal, but it was very off the book even back then. And y'all might think that this is kind of some fantasy that I'm telling you, but this is actually from Evan Chandler's own mouth that he gave an interview in 1994 on a television saying like, oh, I gave Jordie like a truth serum and all the truth came out, you know. So you gotta remember, like, Jordie, before he went into the dental procedure, was denying that MJ ever touched him, and after that procedure he came out believing that Michael Jackson molested him. So you have a boy who's 13 years old saying that no, Michael Jackson didn't do anything to me. You, my father, is trying to blackmail him to get money from him. And after that dental procedure, after sodium amytal, that drug for that phony stuff, he believed that MJ has molested him. To put everything in perspective, like, Jordan is getting coached by Barry Rothman, like what to say, what not to say, and what allegations to make. And on the other hand, Evan is like giving this drug to his son, which is creating false memories about him and Michael Jackson and all the allegations. So this has been going on for a month, and June is kind of getting like very like, it's more than 7 days. He hasn't returned my son to myself, and Evan is not a good guy. So she goes to the family court, files an ex parte motion, meaning like Evan needs to return Jordie right there, right now, or else it won't be nice for him. Now you gotta remember, before she filed this ex parte motion, in that 25-30 days time period, like, rather than going to police station and saying like, hey, my child has been molested by the biggest pop star, what are you gonna do about it? They are blackmailing Michael Jackson for $20 million and a screenwriting deal. First, Evan comes up with the $20 million scheme of like, you pay me this, I won't say this to anybody, and I need a screenwriting deal. MJ and his legal team refuses to pay, and the lawyers give like a counter response of like three scripts, each of them paying $350 per script, and you guys can fuck off, basically. Because Evan was also saying that like, my child has been starstruck by this pop star, he's ruining the relationship between my son and me. By the way, the same son that he didn't had anything to do with until like February, that he figures out that Jordie Chandler is hanging out with the biggest pop star, Michael Jackson. That's the same son he's saying like Michael Jackson is ruining his relationship with his son. So they refuse the deal, and then a second counteroffer comes from Jackson's legal team saying like, okay, it's gonna be one script and all that is gonna be $350,000. So this deal was pretty much lower than the first deal, and Michael don't want to settle for like $20 million, saying like, I'm not gonna pay you shit. So Evan Chandler basically suggests like, oh, I want like $1 million at least from this deal, which to Anthony Pellicano, the private eye from MJ, says like, that's never gonna happen. So back to the ex parte motion that June filed against Evan to give her son back to her. Since Evan was gonna lose the custody of Jordie, he takes him to a psychiatrist, and Evan basically tells that, oh, he's been like molested by Michael Jackson and stuff like that. And the psychiatrist, due to legal obligation, goes and reports to the police that, hey, this kid just told me in our session that he's been molested by Michael Jackson, and I am reporting this to you because it's my legal duty to tell you this. And that's how the criminal investigation gets ignited in Santa Barbara County, which results in June losing custody of Jordie because Evan, after the criminal investigation was started, Evan claimed that it happened under her supervision. So hence Jordie is with Evan now. By the way, before the investigation started, like, Evan never, even in family court, claimed that Michael Jackson was molesting his son under June Chandler's supervision. So yeah, he wanted to blackmail Michael Jackson, and since police has got involved, this enraged him, that because the negotiations cannot happen because criminal investigation is going on. So while the criminal investigation is going on, the Child Family Services interviews Jordie about the investigation. That interview is leaked to a reporter called Don Ray, who sells the story to like a local media outlet, and from then chaos breaks all over the media.
Started waving around $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 to anybody that was prepared to say, I have met Michael Jackson and I've got something bad to say about him.
Yeah, a friend of mine told National Enquiry that he knew some family that knew the Jacksons, and they called me on the phone and asked me to come to the hotel. I said, I'm here to help Michael. Oh, he said, oh no. We don't, that ain't what we want with you. We heard it that your boy spent nights at the house. We want to know if Michael tampered with him. I just picked him up or touched him in any kind of way. If he did, we got $200,000 for you. I said, huh? He said, you show what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna draw a check up, a contract up, and I'm gonna show you we're finna give you $200,000.
So then you go to Germany, you get another 20,000. You go to Italy, another 20,000. Before you know it, you're up $200,000, and that is enough for a family to come forward and talk.
It happened repeatedly where people of dubious character were treated as credible sources when anybody with just an iota of investigative savvy would know that these are not people that you want to be staking your reputation on. They were people that changed their story depending on how much money you offered them.
The first time I heard the story about Jackson, his hand was outside the kid's pants. They were asking $100,000. As soon as their price went up to $500,000, the hand went inside the pants. So come on.
While this is happening, Michael is on a tour worldwide for the Dangerous Tour, and he files like an extortion claim against Barry Rothman, like saying like this lawyer is acting maliciously and wants to like get $20 million from me. Barry Rothman resigns from the case, and Gloria Allred takes in charge of the case, and she gives a press conference like, oh, we're gonna proceed like a criminal case, which Evan didn't want that to happen, so he fires her because she gave this press conference, and they hire a guy called Larry Felman. This guy, he is great friends with the district attorney, Tom Snedden, right here, who is the district attorney in Santa Barbara, and is after Michael Jackson when this case broke in. Like, this guy is trying. He gets 5 search warrants for the Jackson family house in Encino, Neverland, his private physician, 5 different warrants, and they find nothing on Michael Jackson. They took videotapes, they took books, they took personal notes, and nothing incriminating was found under Michael Jackson. By the way, this guy was also like sending investigators to different continents where Michael Jackson visited all over the years, trying to find any other accusers so they can fly him back to the U.S. And make an allegation against Michael Jackson and build this massive case. And basically all those children in the other continent tell them to like fuck off, basically. And he was doing all of that on taxpayers' money of California. Like, kind of crazy, you know. He's like a glory hunter. All this frenzy going on, and on top of that, LaToya Jackson, sister of Michael Jackson, I think she's the older sister, comes on the air and accuses Michael of being a pedophile right here.
This week, the Jackson family stood divided as the comments about Michael Jackson continued. LaToya, who has long been estranged from the family, accused her brother Michael of crimes against small children. On Wednesday, at a midnight press conference in the Israeli city of Tel Aviv, where she was on a tour that's suffering from
all the way from Tel Aviv, huh?
Poor attendance, an emotionally charged LaToya had this.
Okay, I'll tell you a little more backstory about her.
To say.
I must tell you that this is very difficult for me. That Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small innocent children. And if I remain silent, then that means that I feel the guilt and the humiliation that these children are feeling, and I think it's very wrong. I have seen checks payable to the parents of these children. And I don't know if these children...
She's reading from a script, you know, she's been rehearsed. So basically, about LaToya, she is married to a name called Jack Gordon, who is a Jewish man and is like a mobster, you know. And she married him in, I think, in the 80s, and he was a very abusive husband of LaToya. He used to beat her. He forced LaToya to like give like a Playboy magazine photo shoot, like a semi-pornographic magazines. Twist her arms, and like it's all been proven that he was like a criminal. He's a criminal and a wife beater. So he forced LaToya to make allegations against Michael Jackson, his own brother. And you can see in an interview in 1994 on like an Australian talk show TV, that she was being coached.
We're not saying it. You're the one who's saying that he's a child molester.
Things became a little bizarre when the conversation turned to accusations LaToya had made against her brother Michael.
Don't keep making the accusation unless you don't make the accusation.
Because you know what? You're telling children that it's okay to be abused, and
no, we're not. No, we're saying nothing like that.
If anybody's touching
Look, she's looking at somebody behind the camera.
As the interview progressed, host Ray Martin became just a little bit concerned about LaToya's mental state.
LaToya, have you had psychiatric help?
The way he's talking, he sounds like he's an abuser. The way he's speaking.
Have you had psychiatric help?
He sounds exactly like he's an abuser.
Who? Who sounds like their abuser?
I mean, have you been with him? Is that
She looks very similar to Michael Jackson. I'm sorry, still like a side note. I can't ignore that fact.
the problem? You've been with him and you're afraid that that's going to come out?
Do you make these accusations?
Is that your fear?
Do you make these accusations?
I'm asking you. That's not an accusation. I'm asking you a question because you're acting as if you have a chip on your shoulder, and there's no reason for you to act that way.
But that's as absurd as everything else you say.
Everything else you're saying too is ridiculous. I think what you're saying is totally ridiculous. I am not stabbing him in the back.
Well, Ms. Jackson carried on with that nonsense for about another 25 minutes, all the time being prompted by someone in the studio, but off camera, presumably her husband manager Jack Gordon, until our bizarre interview ended this way.
People like you will let this go on, and it's very, very
wrong.
Who's
talking to you in the background?
I refuse to sit here and listen to you talk this way. I think it's wrong of you.
Who's talking to you in the background?
So I have nothing else to say to you whatsoever. I think what you're doing is wrong. I'm sorry. Goodbye. And yes, I'm talking to you so you can hear what I'm saying. I can't hear you, but I definitely want you to hear what I'm saying. Because you do have a serious problem, sir. Whatever it is, I don't know. But you do need to go see a psychiatrist. Goodbye.
Yeah. And later she came out and, like, you know, basically says, hey, it was my ex-husband who was beating me and twisting my arm, grabbing me by my hair and slamming me against the wall and telling me to accuse my brother of child molestation allegations. And by the way, June Chandler, Dave Schwartz, and Evan Chandler are like all in on the allegation now against Michael Jackson, and they will all want to get money and use Jordie as a tool to get the money against Michael Jackson.
After the allegation hit, prior to that, they were on opposite end, because June never did agree with the allegation. But after the allegation hit, they were meeting in my attorney, David Schwartz, June Chandler, Evan Chandler, and my attorney. They were all meeting behind closed doors in my attorney's office. And I heard Evan blurt out, he says, my ass is in danger of going to prison right here. Inside the law office, the only thing they were asking for was money. Where's this money? How much? They were sending discovery in, and the discovery was only trying to find his money. I was crazy too. I'm like, y'all just looking for money? You're not looking for justice? You're only looking for money?
So Michael has a skin disorder, which he publicly talked about, I think in the Oprah interview, I think in August, which is kind of crazy that in August, while he's giving the biggest interview that is ever viewed on a live television, all this shit is happening behind the closed doors. Because
when did the color of your skin start to change?
Oh boy, sometime after Thriller. Around Off the Wall, Thriller. Sometime
and what did you think? I mean,
it's in my family. My father said it's on his side. I can't control it. I don't understand. I mean, it makes me very sad.
Evan and I think Larry Felman is the new lawyer, are discussing that, hey, Jordie can, you know, fully describe Michael's genitalia, but Jordie is having like a panic, like, hey, he has like a vitiligo. And like it changes like spots from time to time, And Larry basically said like, hey, that's kind of like on your side. This situation is on your side, because if it matches, like that's amazing. But if it doesn't match, it's like, hey, like it's vitiligo, it changes all over the time. And you gotta remember, Evan, I think in early May, gave like painkillers to Michael Jackson through his buttocks, like an injection through his buttocks. So he has seen a part of Michael Jackson like naked, you know, because he was like performing like a medical procedure onto Michael Jackson. Evan tells the police, hey, my son can accurately describe the genitalia of Michael Jackson. So he describes him. And by the way, Jordie is also Jewish. So in Judaism and Islam, like, you need to be circumcised. So he described Michael Jackson's penis as like a circus-sized penis. So police takes that information and goes to Neverland. I think Michael has canceled the second leg of the Dangerous tour, and he's back in the United States. So they go to him in Neverland. They have a naked body strip photograph search warrant, and they photograph his body, like buttocks, his genitalia, his thighs, and everything. The police tells 2 local news outlets that they never matched. The source, who asked not to be identified, said the photographs did not tally with the description given to the police by a 14-year-old boy who accused Michael Jackson in a civil suit of sexually abusing him. The picture simply did not match the boy's description, the source said. So this is the leaked Jordan Chandler's drawing of Michael Jackson's genitalia. As you can see, it's on October 24th, 1993. Right here, fuck, I don't know if I showed it, but like right here, it says like he is a circus-sized penis. I mean, if you can see right here, like words like my theory suggests that he was being coached by either Evan or Larry Felman about the description. And you also got to remember, Evan has already given like painkillers to Michael Jackson in like a medical procedure in early May of 1993 before all these allegations. So Evan definitely knows a little bit of Michael Jackson's lower torso. Think about this.
Who decided 2 + 2 = 4? Man did, right?
Like a boy who's claiming that he can describe exact description of Jackson's genitalia, even to a point where he can describe like where the skin and the spots would be when his genitalia is erect and everything and stuff like that. I mean, look at this. Like, he was claiming to be so precise that he even pinpointed where the splotch fell while Jackson's penis was erect, and the length of the performer's pubic hair, and that he was circumcised. So he was claiming to be that much of like an accurate descriptor. And when they photographed him, there was no match. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, can't you like look into the case by yourself and like use your own mind to come to it that this boy is lying? He was under like a sodium amytal, like a drug which creates fake memories, while he's coached by Barry Rothman, Evan Chandler, aka Evan Chandler, the guy who changed his surname because it was too Jewish, and wants $20 million and like a script writing deal from Michael Jackson, Larry Felman, now his mother June Chandler, and the stepdad Dave Schwartz.
Michael Jackson is in Bangkok, Thailand tonight, where he has now postponed 2 concerts claiming that he is ill. Well, back in Los Angeles, there's a press frenzy over investigations into child abuse by Jackson.
Remains the Children's Services report detailing the charges by a 13-year-old boy.
Also, I don't know how I forgot, but this is a very crucial detail about All That Glitters book and this book, Michael Jackson Was My Lover. This guy, Victor Gutierrez, he is a scam artist. He is a fraud. Allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly, had like connection with Evan Chandler, which helped him to write this book. And I'm going to show you a clip from Square One, Michael Jackson. Some of the information I took from that video. And he's going to explain how much of a fraud this Victor guy is. So sit back and enjoy.
Victor Gutierrez is a freelance reporter born in Chile. According to him, he first went to a NAMBLA meeting in 1986. What is NAMBLA? NAMBLA stands for North American Men Boys Love Association. So it's basically a pro-pedophile group.
Tell us about you infiltrating this group.
Actually, the infiltration was fairly easy. They had a website. I paid $35. I joined the group. They sent me a letter praising me for my courageous step in joining the organization. I began to get emails from them. I would subscribe to their magazine. They started to send me their magazine, but they wouldn't allow me to attend any of their secret underground meetings until I'd been a member for 3 years and had been sponsored by another active duty member. Every conversation that I had was about where to go to have sex with little boys, how they could attract little boys, how they could groom little boys. That was their agenda.
So at this meeting, he overhears conversations talking about how it would be great if Michael Jackson was a pedophile. Because if Michael Jackson is a pedophile, that makes it easier for societies to accept pedophilia as a whole.
So you gotta remember, this guy has an agenda to prove or to make a rumor about Michael Jackson being a PDF.
After this NAMBLA conference, after this 1986 conference, it becomes Victor Gutierrez's mission to prove that Michael Jackson is a pedophile. He starts befriending Michael Jackson's maids, former employees, and he even approaches Joy Robson, Wade Robson's mother. Joy Robson subsequently told him to get lost.
Joy Robson, mother of this fucking idiot. I'm gonna make video about these two, like a part 3, but yeah.
And Joy Robson reported him to Michael Jackson. This is in 1992, before allegations of Michael Jackson even rose. So during the 93 allegations, Victor Gutierrez served as a source for many journalists, including but are not limited to Diane Diamond and Maureen North. He also coaches Michael Jackson's former employees, such as his maids, Blanca Francia and Adria McManus, notable ones, to sell their stories to tabloids.
A lot of dumbasses take these two tortas stories about MJ and not knowing that they got their sources or got coached by this guy who was a NAMBLA member.
In 1996, Victor Gutierrez wrote a book titled Michael Jackson Was My Lover, a book that glorified pedophilia through the relationship between Michael Jackson and Jordie Chandler. The Chandler family has since dismissed Victor Gutierrez's book as pure fiction. The Chandlers, Raymond Chandler, released a book in 2004 titled All That Glitters.
Remember, Raymond Chandler is not the brother of Evan Chandler. His maiden name is something else, like his maiden name was June Chandler, but he changed his surname to Chandler so he can be associated with Michael Jackson.
Within days of Jordie Chandler and his family settling his 1993 lawsuit against Michael Jackson, I received a call from Jordie's uncle. He wanted to do a book in which he would describe in detail the allegation of molestation against Michael Jackson. And he said that Jordie's father had given him all the information he needed for the book, and he believed it was outside the bounds of the confidentiality agreement because he would be the author.
After careful examination between Michael Jackson Was My Lover and All That Glitters, these two books, we have found many instances of consistent storytelling between the two books, especially for...
I mean, bro, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13, he's just showing it right now.
From Evan's point of view. At times...
But obviously the mainstream will never report it.
Stories are even word for word the same. Truthfully speaking, the only differences between the two books are the...
Look.
supposed sexual acts between Michael Jackson and Jordie Chandler.
Yeah, it's just the dates are just changed from July 9th to July 7th.
Now, when you look at some of these parallel stories even deeper, Gutierrez's book, which preceded the Chandler's book by 7 years, He even sources some stories directly to Evan. So how would it be possible for Gutierrez to tell these confirmable stories first? Michael Jackson Was My Lover also featured many documents of the Chandler family that could only have come from Evan.
Yes, the infamous description of from Jordie Chandler about MJ's genitalia.
This proves that Victor Gutierrez, a man who has an agenda for pushing Michael Jackson as a pedophile, a man who had coached people to lie against Michael Jackson, was in fact connected to Evan Chandler, the father of the first accuser.
We've gotten a constant stream of calls and letters from people making dubious claims about the singer. Frankly, go to Canada.
First, that a child had been molested by Michael Jackson. This child lived in Toronto, so she flew to Toronto. The journalist Diane Diamond got a tip from her source that a child had been molested by Michael Jackson. This child...
And just a quick reminder, Diane Diamond was banking on Michael being a PDF file. So this is not like a reporter, well, no reporter was in MJ's favor. Every reporter, especially her, like in a 2005 trial, she was going to like local prison, showing, oh, this is where Michael Jackson will be staying before the verdict even reached.
Lived in Toronto, so she flew to Toronto with authorities to interview the boy.
And I'd like to make a confession about something that happened between me and Michael Jackson.
And this child proceeded to tell wild stories with vivid details.
Like, he started just touching like our stomach and things, like he'd rub our stomach and then he'd get lower, and then that's when I started saying, like, what are you doing? He said, it's okay, don't worry, bodies are meant to be touched. And he showed me this place, like a saddle shop, where he said he gets stuff for his animals there. I don't know what he got, but
They're gonna think you're making it up.
Yeah, I know, but I don't care about his money. He can keep it. His eyes are big and they're dark, the cavern, and like the sockets to go right in, you know.
We showed the boy several photographs. Some of them were of Neverland employees, and he was able to identify each and every one of them.
Yeah, that's him. The way it looks like that's him.
I found him fairly believable too.
During police interviews, the child broke down and confirmed that he had been coached. At the end, it turned out he was coached by Rodney Allen.
About Neverland, about Havenhurst, about Disneyland, about Michael Jackson's body. Where did he get all that information?
He got it from me.
This kid is a A1, #1 liar.
Professional.
Rodney Allen is currently serving a life sentence in a Canadian prison for pedophilia. Paula, a Michael Jackson investigator, has confirmed through letters to Rodney Allen that Rodney Allen was in fact connected to Victor Gutierrez. In 1999, there was a blog post floating around the internet that was said to be written by Rodney Allen, but no one took it seriously at the time because there were no evidence to who authored the post. Paula sent this blog post to Rodney Allen, and Rodney Allen has since confirmed that he in fact did write this confession. And in the confession, this is what he talked about in regards to the Jordie Chandler case. This obviously...
There you go. Forgive me, Michael. Yeah, ruined the man's whole life, and forgive me. These people, man.
Doesn't prove anything concrete, but it's still interesting that Rodney Allen, a man who was connected to Victor Gutierrez, a man who has a history of coaching kids to lie against Michael Jackson, had that to say.
The King of Pop chalks up a big win. A jury has awarded Michael Jackson a whopping $2.7 million for a defamation lawsuit he filed against freelance writer Victor Gutierrez. Gutierrez claims on a tabloid TV show that he'd seen a video of Jackson having sex with a boy.
This guy made it up out of thin air, maliciously to hurt Michael, and he told anybody and everybody who would listen, when it came time to prove it in this court, he couldn't prove it.
Years later, in the early 2000s, Victor Gutierrez again started spreading rumors regarding sexual abuse, this time around the involvement of politicians in Chile. A boy claimed he participated in these sexual activities and was able to describe stories with vivid details. It was later proven in court that the boy had never met this politician. While questioned, the boy could not even remember the politician's name. It had to be prompted.
So remember guys, if a kid described vivid details about bad acts, it doesn't mean it's true. It could very be he's coached by someone who is a NAMLA member.
By Victor Gutierrez off camera. It was later discovered that Gutierrez had paid this child around 10 to 20,000 pesos. There were no other witnesses nor proof, just the words of a boy who were connected to Victor Gutierrez, the same man who was connected to Evan Chandler.
And after the naked photograph warrant, he released a statement from Neverland.
And fans, I wish to convey my deepest gratitude for your love and support. I am doing well and I am strong. As you may already know, after my tour ended, I remain out of the country undergoing treatment for a dependency on pain medication. This medication was initially prescribed to see the excruciating pain that I was suffering after recent reconstructive surgery on my scalp. There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part. These statements about me are totally false. As I have maintained from the very beginning, I am hoping for a speedy end to this horrifying experience to which I have been subjected. I shall not in this statement respond to all of the false allegations being made against me, since my lawyers have advised me that this is not the proper forum in which to do that. I will say that I am particularly upset by the handling of this mass matter by the incredible, terrible mass media. At every opportunity, the media has dissected and manipulated these allegations to reach their own conclusions. I ask all of you to wait and hear the truth before you label or condemn me. Don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent.
Yeah.
I have been forced to submit to a dehumanizing and humiliating examination by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Department and the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week. They served a search warrant.
Okay, so it happened in December. Okay, so he made that. Okay, so October to December, and they took
warrant on me, which allowed them to view and photograph my body, including my penis, my buttocks, my lower torso, thighs, and any other area that they wanted. They were supposedly looking for any discoloration, spotting, blotches, or other evidence of a skin color disorder called vitiligo, which I have previously spoken about. The warrant also directed me to cooperate in any examination of my body by their physician to determine the condition of my skin, including whether I have vitiligo or any other skin disorder. The warrant further stated that I had no right to refuse the examination or photographs, and if I failed to cooperate with them, they would introduce that refusal at any trial as an indication of my guilt.
There you go, man. Like, yeah. So Tom Snedden having Michael Jackson's naked pictures, boy's testimony, all these tapes with no incriminating evidence, goes to two separate grand jury, one in Santa Barbara and one to Los Angeles simultaneously, and to get an indictment. And there's been a famous saying that a grand jury can easily indict like a ham sandwich, kind of like a joke, but like it doesn't take much evidence to indict a person from a grand jury. And to his surprise, both of them said no, like they're not gonna indict Michael Jackson because there's the bar, even the bar being so low to indict, there's not enough evidence to indict him criminally, which he is fucking furious. And now he's not letting the case go to rest because, like, why he's sending all these private investigators on taxpayers' dollars to different continents to get like more accusers, and they're all eventually all those accusers telling him to fuck off. Basically, he's like scraping for like any shred of evidence to indict him. Meanwhile, Evan over here is getting a civil lawsuit against Michael Jackson with Larry Felman, and pushing for the civil case to take before the criminal case. Jackson's lawyers are saying like, hey, that is unconstitutional for my client. The Constitution tells every U.S. citizen that they deserve a fair trial. If you're gonna take the legal case first, the civil case is gonna fuck up his defense in the criminal case. And the judge basically said like, no, we're gonna do the legal case first, and your client Michael Jackson needs to give like a deposition on January 18th, 1994, or else it won't be nice, you know. And the lawyers are keep going back and forth like, hey, this is like unconstitutional, and the judge is like, no, bro, like I know. The judge basically said like, I'm not gonna wait for this civil case while the criminal case is still open, and you know, we don't know how long it's gonna take for the criminal case to take place, that so we cannot wait for it, and the civil case is gonna go right now. Like basically unfair trial. So Michael Jackson's allegation for 1993 civil case was taking place before the criminal case, which was very wrong. And the people who cannot comprehend their mind like why it is wrong is basically, in a criminal case you have to prove the guy is guilty with like, you have to be like 99.9% sure that the guy is guilty. For like a civil case, even if you're like sure like 50.1% that he did this or not, like they would like basically say like he's guilty. So like the threshold of like proving innocence is like, it's like 90% or 50.1%. If the civil case takes place, the defense can basically come in and take like a front row seat. All the defense argue against the prosecution, and you know, and poke holes in it. So basically they can say like, oh, on March Michael abused him X, Y, and Z right here, and the defense goes like, oh no, Michael, we have like an alibi on March, like Michael was in like, I don't know, Wisconsin and stuff like that. And then when the criminal case comes in, the prosecutor can be like, oh yeah, that allegation, no, that actually happened in April. So they can just like change dates, you know, around the defense case, you know, which is very bad for Michael. So January comes in, Michael does not want to settle this case, and his lawyers are telling him, hey, you should settle it, like you're gonna prejudice the criminal case if we go through the civil case and fight it. And you know, and we don't know like if Tom Snedden is gonna come back with like some kind of evidence or something, because like he's already been denied by the 2 grand juries, but like Snedden is not letting it go, and he wants to prosecute Michael. He never closed his case until 2005. Like, come on. On January 18th, Michael is scheduled for like a deposition for the civil case. The eve before his first schedule for his deposition, earthquake happens in Los Angeles. Yeah, the Northridge earthquake. Yeah, on January 17th, which basically they rescheduled it like a week later. On the eve, Michael gets convinced by all his legal team that his insurance company is gonna pay the $20 million settlement. By the way, first of all, that the insurance company wasn't gonna pay for the $20 million settlement, which his lawyers convinced the insurance company that they should pay for it. So when the settlement actually happened, like, it didn't stop Jordie Chandler to pursue Michael Jackson criminally again. You know, they made Michael drop the extortion claims that Michael is being extorted by these guys for money. And in the settlement, it basically said like, this is not like an admission of guilt. It says that.
By under oath. No dollar figures have been disclosed, but the settlement is estimated to be in the range of $20 million. Jackson's attorneys also say the singer wanted to get it over with, and the payoff is not an admission of guilt.
He is an innocent man who does not intend to have his career and his life destroyed by rumors and innuendos.
There is, of course, one legal obstacle to getting on with their lives, and that's the criminal investigation. The DA did not participate in any of these settlement negotiations, and Felman says there were no provisions made for his client not to testify against Jackson. However, Felman doesn't sound like a man who wants to see this case go to trial.
We'll take it one day at a time. I want to sit down with the district attorney. You have to understand, has not been sharing information. I don't know where the district attorney is.
DA Gil Garcetti said the probe of Jackson is ongoing. It will not be affected by the settlement, he says, and he believes the boy will be allowed to testify. But after a
There you go. I mean, that was it. That was like a nail in the coffin. Not a nail in the coffin, but like basically ruined Jackson's reputation till this day. You know, it made him like laughingstock. Parodies were made on Michael Jackson, saying he's like a potentially like a child molester. Open like gates of like false allegations that we will see later on. The Dangerous album was on its course to outsell the Bad album until these allegations hit and fucked up his reputation, basically. And because all of this, Michael goes back into the painkiller addiction, which he eventually gets like a rehab later on, you know, and gets out of the addiction. Yeah, he may release Marie Presley, and like there was all this sentiment about like, is Michael gay? Is he even into women? They basically asked him on the interview, like, are you guys having sex or not? Like, what the hell?
Old man doing, sleeping with a 12-year-old boy, or a series of them.
Right. Okay, when you say boys, it's not just boys, and I've never invited just boys to come in my room. Come on, that's ridiculous. And that's a ridiculous question. But like, since people want to hear it, you know, the answer, I'll be happy to answer it. I have never invited anyone into my bed, ever. Children love me, I love them, they follow me, they want to be with me. But anybody can come in my bed. A child can come in my bed if they want.
I can say, sorry, I've seen this. I've seen it a lot. I've seen kids. I've seen him with children in the last year. I've seen it enough to where I can see how that can happen. It's, you know, I understand.
Isn't part of being an adult, and you have a 2-year-old child, 2-year-old boy.
Yeah, let me just, sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I've seen these children, they don't let him go to the bathroom without running in there with them. And they won't let him out of their sight. So when he jumps in the bed, I'm even out. You know, they jump in the bed with him.
How about the police photographs, though? How was there enough information from this boy about those kinds of things?
The police photographs that they took of me,
yes.
There was nothing that matched me to those charges.
There was nothing. There was nothing that concurred.
That's why I'm sitting here talking to you today. There was not one iota of information that was found that could connect me.
So when we've heard that there was a marking
nothing.
of some kind.
No markings.
No markings.
No.
Why did you
Why am I still here then?
You're not going to ask me about that, are you? Sorry, about the markings.
You can volunteer.
No, I'm just, the point is that when that finally got concluded that there was no matchup, then it was printed this big as opposed to how big it was, what the matchup was supposed to be.
It didn't work. It isn't so.
Basically, Diane's lawyer, I can't find the clip where she said, like, are you gonna watch out? She basically asked, like, are you gonna watch out, like, you know, not share time with like children? And he said, like, why would I watch out when I didn't do anything wrong? Which kind of tells you like what kind of a state of mind he is in. Michael goes on to release History, you know, which is one of his most personal work. Very anti-establishment song. Like, you should go listen to like Tabloid Junkie, Money, Dom Snedden, which is like a diss track on Tom Snedden. I also forgot to mention is the reason why Michael can talk about the 1993 case in detail is because he has a gag order, which is so crazy that like you pay for this and you have a gag order on you, like you cannot discuss the stuff about it. Because he released this History album, Evan loses his shit and goes to the court and say like he breached the gag order deal, and then he should get like a $60 million as like a damages from Jackson, and he should be able to like release an album called Evan's Story, not even Jordie's story, Evan's story. Made this thing about himself, which court basically tells you like fuck off, like we're not doing that. And what happened with Jordie is like he basically gains legal emancipation from his mother and father, and I think in 2003 or 4 Jordie meets with his dad like 10 years later. 10 years later, like, so it's 2004. I think he's around like 19, 20, and Evan basically beats Jordie with like a dumbbell to death that you know, which was fucking crazy, which like helped Jordie to get like a restraining order against him. And Jordie refused to talk to June and Evan after 1994. Even June admitted that in like 2005 trial, which we will get into that in the next video. In the meantime, like and subscribe. I know I was kind of sloppy with it, but this is everything that happened in 1983. Like, I can say for a fact that nothing happened between Jordie and Michael. And later, when he's 21 years old, like when he was in New York University or something, he told his friends like MJ never touched him. It was all a lie, like close friends. Like, he was supposed to testify. Jordie was supposed to testify in 2005 trial against Michael Jackson, because like and he refused to do it. He fled the country because he didn't want to testify against Michael Jackson. Like, come on. And Tom Mesereau, Jackson's attorney in 2005 trial, said like if he was gonna testify, he had like several friends of Jordie which Jordie told him like something never happened between him and Michael. Like, it was like a lie from his parents. It's sad to see the greatest entertainer of all times life ruined from this man. So yeah. Anyways, like and subscribe and peace out.